The Dodgers were already likely to be in on bullpen help at the trade deadline. That need intensified with Tanner Scott's injury. We're going to talk about at least 14 names of players who are on the Dodgers trade radar this trade deadline season on this episode of All Dodgers. What's up, Dodger fans? Coming to you live from my home in Pleasant Grove, Utah, and Clint's home in beautiful La Puente, California. This is All Dodgers, part of the Leave Network of podcasts, brought to you by Bet Online. Boom, boom. I can push a button too. Oh, my button
doesn't work.
Man. But I am Jeff Snider. That is Clint Pasillas right there. Look at me pointing right the first time.
Proud of you.
We are, the big guns of All Dodgers. And happy to be here with you for the second time today.
Yep.
Earlier, if you missed the episode, we had a little quick shot about Tanner Scott's injury, and that plays into today's episode, or this current episode too, because we are, what do we decide, 9 days away from the trade deadline,
yep.
Clint.
Or as I said it, very poorly worded, they are a week away from the trade deadline on Thursday.
All he does is talk professionally for a living, folks, And so, 9 days, I guess slightly 1 hour less than 9 days away. I'm not going to do 9 times 24.
No.
Yes, I am.
We don't need to do all that.
We're 215 hours away from the trade deadline. Dodgers were going to be active at this trade deadline. We knew that, outfield help, bullpen help, with all the injuries they've had in the bullpen. We knew they were going to be there. Yeah. This Tanner Scott injury, though, really does just ramp that up, Clint. To now, there's no question that the Dodgers are going to do Andrew Friedman's favorite thing, which is go shopping for bullpen help at the trade deadline, which he hates to do.
Yeah,
we talked about that so many times.
He really cursed this team in January. I think it was at the Tanner Scott presser, or maybe the Kirby Yates presser, if they even gave him one, where he said, we don't want to be active at the trade deadline. Well, joke's on you, Andy. It's happening. You have to be very, very active. They have needs, at least 2 relievers maybe at this point now. You need 1 right-handed reliever. Of course, we'll talk about, as Jeff said at the top there, some of the options, some of the names that have already been linked to this team. I think you and I are both very firmly in the belief that this team needs an outfielder, a center fielder preferred, but they need some help, especially if they're trying to run it back.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing today, for example, this isn't really an episode about today's game other than the fact that we do have our rally hats on. But Teoscar Hernandez is sitting today. James Outman's playing instead of him. Teoscar's slumping. Between him and Conforto, they need help. I don't know exactly what that help looks like, but we're going to dig into all of that. And a lot of this is setting the stage because, like I said, we're 215 hours away from the trade deadline, and
he did the math.
We are going to, over the next 9 days, we're going to be talking a lot about this stuff as rumors start flying. This is kind of a set the stage episode of here are 14 plus 4 names of guys who are being linked to the Dodgers right now. Mm-hmm. And obviously they're not going to go after all 18 guys that we're going to talk about, even the 14 that are linked by the people in the know. We're talking
Insiders.
Bob Nightingale, Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal. That's our, the guys. In fact, and even Bob Nightingale. We're not going to talk about anybody that only Bob Nightingale has mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All of Bob's have been confirmed by Jeff Passan. Just really, we're talking mostly Jeff Passan with a hint of Ken Rosenthal.
A sprinkle of Rosenthal, and also kind of where we think this team is at, where other teams are at. That's going to be the big factor. And we've talked about this a lot over the last, 3 weeks, sprinkled in doing some shows. It's not about what we want. It's not about what the Dodgers want or need. There are other teams with needs in this league, and we will talk about that a little bit later. There are buyers, sellers, some teams that if they lose a lot of games over the next 7 days and change, or 200 some odd hours, they're going to be on the phone trying to get the best prospect haul for some of their big names. I guess not the Rockies, but teams like the Reds, teams like the Rangers, maybe even the Red Sox in there. So like Jeff said, we got a lot of trade content coming up. I guess let's do this so we can kind of get this sort of out of the way. Not that it's a burden, because it's not a burden, but I'm going to tell you guys. I will tell you guys about Bet Online. It continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for sports betting here in 2025. All your betting action. Baseball season is in full swing. Trade deadline. Yes, it's right around the corner. I see you in the corner, Jeff. He's doing dances. Watch this, everybody. Just for that, I'm putting you on the screen to be rude. Football season around the corner. Bet Online has more ways to stay in on the action with live odds, or the latest odds, news, scores, even live in-game betting. That's all available. MLB, UFC, tennis, NFL futures. Bet Online remains your choice for sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the Bet Online casino. That's right, they got that. They have top Vegas-style games, including poker. There's a live casino. Do check that out. Head to the website today. Take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program. There's level-up bonuses, weekly cash boosts, and more. Bet Online, the game starts here. Jeff, I appreciated the dance on the side, but let's get into why people are here, why people clicked on the thumbnail. We do see some super chats. We will get to those throughout our conversation. We should probably also tell people while we're here, like the show, subscribe to the channel. That really helps us continue producing content. Another way that helps us continue producing content is check out the Patreon, patreon.com/realfrg, or click the join button here on YouTube. There are perks for money. Jeff, there are some rumors. There were a number of names. Let's do it this way first. Let's go to this screen here that I got. There were 14 names, as you said, directly linked to this team. The majority of them coming from ESPN's Jeff Passan, Juff, if you're not nasty there. Lot of pitching. Only one outfielder. What up?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Like reading Jeff Passan's article, he wrote about 50 people who could potentially get traded, and 30 of them he talked about the best landing spots for them. This particular tweet from Sleeper Dodgers is everybody who Passan mentioned the Dodgers as a possibility on.
Yeah.
And the fact that Stephen Kwan is the only outfielder who he mentioned Dodgers, Jeff Passan doesn't think the Dodgers are in the outfielder market, especially when you throw in the fact that we saw today somebody saying that I don't remember if that was Rosenthal. I saw it in the Discord that Stephen Kwan is unlikely to be traded. Actually, that might have been Bob Nightingale. So maybe we are
well, here's
insulting that one.
This is the Bob Nightingale from over the weekend. His most recent column, by the way. More, like you said, similar names, all relievers, because that's where I think most of us believe the Dodgers need the most help now with the loss of Tanner Scott. But before then, you don't have Evan Phillips anymore this season. You have some other dudes on the sidelines waiting to come back and return and hopefully be healthy potentially. And another name that has been oft-linked to the Dodgers, Mason Miller. That's somebody Ken Rosenthal spoke about on Fair Territory yesterday, part of the Foul Territory Network. But so there's 14 names shown a different way. Here are the names that we're looking at. These are the ones that have been linked by insiders. And there are starting pitchers in there. I am of the belief firmly that they don't need starting pitching help. I think you have enough arms to get through the season, and you have your top 3 or 4 that you're going to need to get through the grind of a postseason. But some of those names, Jeff, I got to tell you, I like them, including there's your Bednar in there, who have you been a fan of?
Yeah, I like me some David Bednar. A lot of these names, are really, really appealing. When you talk about starting pitching, I guess, if Sandy Alcantara was available for a reasonable price and the Dodgers felt like they could fix whatever was wrong this year, I don't hate that idea because he has very good stuff. A Seth Lugo guy, I actually like that idea a lot because in addition to me not trusting that all the guys we're hoping are going to be healthy in October will be healthy in October, you also have Seth Lugo, who has a history of success coming out of the bullpen too. So even if they did, need to transition him to a bullpen role or a piggyback role in the postseason, Seth Lugo would make the pitching staff better for October.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make the staff better for October, I'm not that interested. And so when we go back to that list of relievers, we talked the other day about how we're looking for guys who move the needle. Yes. And most of these guys, even though I thought you fixed your Pete Fate Banks.
That was supposed to be changed.
Yeah.
I might have put it on the wrong one. We'll see. But pretend that says
right.
Fairbanks.
Pretend that says Fairbanks, yeah. But anyway, most of these guys on this list are needle movers. Even the guys who are less household names, like Cade Smith. Cade Smith might be a guy who, unless he has pitched against your favorite team recently, you don't know that he exists.
Mm-hmm.
But what he is a guy who, in his 2-year career now, 117 innings pitched, he has a FIP of 1.61. His ERA is 2.38. This year, the ERA is up. It's 3.21, but the FIP is right at 2. I mean, the dude strikes out a ton of guys, doesn't walk too many for a reliever, doesn't give up a lot of hits, doesn't give up many home runs. He's just very, very good. And so he's a guy who, and he's Canadian. I have a soft spot for Canadians for some reason.
Hey.
But all these guys on that list are guys who would be potential needle movers there. I think all of them. I think that's safe to say that all those relievers seem very interesting from a needle moving standpoint.
Do we actually say the names out loud in case people are listening to this show?
People are listening. Yeah. Should we take turns?
All right. You got the left side. I got the right side.
Okay. Yohan Duran, Griffin Jacks, both of those guys are on the Twins. Felix Bautista of the Orioles, Ryan Helsley of the Cardinals, David Bednar of the Pirates, Mason Miller of the A's, and Emmanuel Clase of the Guardians.
And on the right side of our list, we got Cade Smith, who Jeff already spoke about, Pete Fairbanks, not Fate Banks. Of course, the Rays are in the mix for an AL wild card, so that's an interesting one to consider. Sandy Alcantara, who of course is with the Marlins and has had his ups and downs. Seth Lugo of the Royals, currently starting. Where was it Ty Bradley? Where does this dude pitch? Who is this guy?
It's Taj Bradley. He's on the Rays too, isn't he?
That one I don't know. This is another one of those names. Edward Cabrera.
He's on the Rays.
Anyways, Edward Cabrera, Stephen Kwan. That rounds out our list there.
Taj Bradley is definitely the one who is the least of a needle mover, and he's a starter. And when I was talking about starters, I'm out on Taj Bradley. Nothing about him excites me. Obviously, the stuff is good, but he hasn't turned that into success. And even this year, his strikeout rate is way down.
He's not starting for this team in the postseason, so they don't need him. Give me some piggybacks and some starts from Justin Wrobleski or Landon Knack. Heck, try what's his name again? Who's the guy that I don't like? Something with who's Bobby Miller.
Bobby Miller?
Yeah, like give him a shot again, even though he is not good at pitching at the major league level. I'd rather see those guys than just random starters for no reason. But again, I will maintain they don't need starting pitching help. You got Blake Snell coming back. You have Wrobleski currently at AAA right now. Same with Landon Knack. But some of those relief arms and Stephen Kwan, who probably not going to be moved. Hey, let's look at the bonus names because I have those. I think I have those as well. Let's see. There's some bonus names as well, but all the bonus names are all outfield pieces. Of course, you have your standard Luis Robert. You have Taylor Ward of the Angels. Our friend who is in town right now, Byron Buxton, looks great for his age, and Jarren Duran, who is always going to be a popular name, for Dodgers fans right now. Of any of those,
my first thought on these bonus names, that's a good looking list. As far as the actual physical attractiveness of those four guys, that's some good looking dudes on that list. I don't know if you've noticed that, but all
some handsome fellas, huh?
Handsome fellas, yeah.
Handsome fellas.
Earlier, now that we're off the Pete Fairbanks list, because that dude,
fate,
his eyes can kill you.
Earlier in the chat, because I think this super chat really lends well to some of the things that we talked about. But Dan Daughtry with the 1999 super chat. Thank you very much, Dan, saying no reclamation projects. Bullpen acquisitions have to be clearly better than all of the guys who don't have any options. And that's pretty much what you were saying, Jeff. And that's fully what I agree with and what we said whenever it was, a couple days ago. It's like we need needle movers. We need guys that are not jags, not just the guys. You need difference makers for a team that is trying to win a World Series 2 years in a row. Keep throwing that out there. And I mean, currently, they need some bodies. You're down Tanner Scott. There's a strong likelihood it's for the rest of the season. Nobody knows the whereabouts of Tony Gonsolin. Roki Sasaki is, as Dave Roberts would say, on the come. But Is he going to be a starting option? You think if he throws more than 2 games, it would be a shocker, or at least starts more than 2 games, but maybe he's an end of season bullpen option to give you a few innings, as we've seen them be successful with that in the past. There's enough pieces kind of to make some sort of postseason roster amalgamation happen, and gets even better if Blake Trinan comes back and is healthy, Brusdar Graterol comes back and is healthy. But you need to have somebody who you feel super confident that you can run out there in the 9th inning or against, the 3, 4, 5 hitters in the 7th inning or whatever. You need those type of pieces, not somebody that needs to be a closer.
Yeah, and I mean, in a perfect world, every guy in your bullpen is capable of being a closer. That, why not build the whole plane out of the black box, build the whole bullpen out of the best relievers there are? That's kind of what the Dodgers tried to do this offseason, and then the 2 guys they signed who have been successful closers in the past have taken turns being bad and hurt. And
in
so,
that order.
And who knows what you're going to – all these guys, Felix Bautista is coming off being hurt.
Yeah.
David Bednar is coming off being bad. There's definitely question marks around some of these guys. But the fact is, you look at that list, Duran, Bautista, Helsley, Bednar, Miller, Clase, and Fairbanks, I believe, have all been closers. Fairbanks has been the Rays closer. So, I mean, there's a bunch of closers here, but that only really matters when you're talking about a guy like Kenley Jansen. One of the reasons we talked about not being on the Kenley Jansen train is because he wants to get saves. Kenley Jansen is trying to make the Hall of Fame. He needs saves numbers to do that. He wants to get to 500 saves, get some round numbers because it's hard enough for relief pitchers to get into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. But, a guy that's why Kirby Yates made sense for the Dodgers because, yes, he's been a closer, but he's already old. He knows he's not going to the Hall of Fame, so he doesn't have that ego trip of, I've got to get the saves. And at times this year he has pitched well, but, that's why they signed him was closer material, doesn't need to close. And anybody who they were to trade for, it's not like guys being traded can just dictate their role. If the Dodgers trade for you, A, you're going to get some save opportunities, but also B, it's not guaranteed. And so a guy like Mason Miller, who is young and an established closer, you imagine he's going to want to be the closer. But also if the Dodgers traded for him, they're going to want him to be the closer too, because he throws 800 miles an hour, and that's kind of what you're looking for in a closer.
Or I think too, the what I love doing is borrowing from Davisms. It's somebody who's going to get the lion's share of save opportunities, but more so you understand that when you come to the Los Angeles Dodgers, like you are, you don't have a role. It's everybody is open. Everybody has an opportunity to throw in literally any situation. And the goal is everybody pulling on the same side of the rope. You're all trying to go out there and win a World Series. And if it doesn't make sense for a particular guy to be a closer, de facto closer or whatever, a Mason Miller, if he needs to pick up some outs, I would imagine coming to the Dodgers, people are more open to the opportunity or to the likelihood of not having that set role. If I'm saying this, with fewer words, they're more open to that opportunity.
Yeah, and some of that is why a guy like Griffin Jax is appealing. I know our buddy Pat Dwyer is all aboard the Griffin Jax train.
And Mason Miller highlights for your Sunday, even though it's
nice.
Tuesday.
But Griffin Jax has been the setup man for Yohan Duran for the Twins. And Jax, since converting to the bullpen, his strikeout rate has skyrocketed, gone way up, and his stuff is really, really good. Even though the result, like this year, it's kind of crazy. His ERA is more than twice as high as his FIP. He's had very bad luck when it comes to basically giving up more hits than usual. Bad luck on balls in play. But other than that, like he has been outstanding. And so you look at his career BABIP. His career BABIP against is 283. This year is 379. It doesn't mean he's a buy low guy because all front offices are smart enough to know that the FIP is more indicative of how well he's pitching.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's not a closer might not have the same price tag. Go get me Byron Buxton, Griffin Jackson, Yohan Duran in one trade, and just hey Twins, give us all your good players. You can fine. You could have Michael Grove and just call it a day. Obviously, you know, over the next 9 days, 214 and a half hours, we will get into more detail about specific
Yeah.
trade packages and what they might look like. But all of these relievers excite me in one way or another.
Yeah, the relievers, and then some of those names. Buxton makes a lot of sense. Earlier, we got a 999 super chat from Francisco mentioning my trade A of Class A and J Ram. Now that we know Max Muncy is a little bit closer to returning, maybe I'm a little cooled on Jose Ramirez. Still would love to have him in the lineup. I still think you need to figure out third base beyond this year. He could also play some second base, as can Max Muncy, even if people don't want to believe that. But on the other side, taking Durand and Buxton right now while Minnesota's in town, it just makes a whole bunch of sense. But that's to us. Again, there are other ball clubs that are in on these players, that want these players, these particular ones right here, and they really, really, really are going to make it that much more difficult for the Dodgers to swing some trades. Because here are that's not it. That's the wrong one yet again. So we're going to go back here so I could fix that. But I want to talk about some of the teams that are going to be that are going to be, buying players, good players, living players here at this trade deadline.
Do you need me to say sentences while you figure out that?
Yeah, you do that. You can figure that one out.
What Clint's going to put up is a list of teams that are likely to be competing with the Dodgers for these players over the next 214 and a half hours. And
thereabout.
Yeah, the fact is the Dodgers have a solid farm system. They have a lot of depth in the farm system. The Dodgers probably have enough farm system to make any trade they need to, even a few big trades, but they don't necessarily have the best farm system. And then you look at like even major league ready players. There's a couple teams on this list that Clint finally got up on the screen. We're talking, I guess let's list these 12 buyers. I'll do the left column again. Got the Tigers, the Padres, the Giants, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Yankees.
You go ahead and do them all because I'm doing more things, making sure.
Also have the Astros, Blue Jays, Cubs, Red Sox, Brewers, and Mariners. A couple of these teams even jump out as potentially trading off their big league roster, doing kind of a hybrid kind of buy-sell thing. Like the Mariners, they have a ton of starting pitching. If they needed more offense, they could trade one of their really good major league starting pitchers and still be in good shape from a starting pitching standpoint. The Padres have guys who are in the last year of their contract who they might, a Michael King, a Dylan Cease, a Luis Arraez, who they might trade off the active roster to bolster areas of weakness on their active roster. Plus, the Mariners have a great farm system. The Padres don't. But there's a lot of good farm systems here. So the Dodgers are going to have competition for these guys, which means the price goes up. The good news is the fact that there are 9 really good relief pitchers on this list means everybody who needs a good reliever could get one. So maybe that does help keep the price down a little bit. But it only takes one AJ Preller throw the entire farm system at somebody to kind of blow up the market,
But the other side, the other factor of that is Dodgers have more farm system than anybody to throw at it. Now, do they want to move their big names? I'm seeing people post a lot on Twitter over the last 24 hours. Your Josue de Paulas, your Zaire Hopes, obviously those are the big names. Teams are going to be asking about Jackson Ferris, who's pretty close to being major league ready as a left-handed starting pitching option. But if the Dodgers want somebody, they can go out and get him. Now, ideally, they also find a way to offload pieces they don't want or need. Your James Outmans, your Bobby Millers, your Michael Confortos, and do some sort of things that we've seen them do a lot in the past with like salary changing hands or whatever. I don't know that this is the type of trade deadline where we see that as much. But whatever it takes to make a move happen, especially if it's like, the super chat from earlier with, hey, let's go get J-Ram and Emmanuel Clase or Buxton and Durand. I think there are certain moves where I'm okay pushing in all the chips because it's not just for this year. It's also for next year.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing the Dodgers trading one of those really big names for a reliever. But if it was in a bigger trade, that a reliever was involved in, but also, a reliever and his teammate, a Duran and Buxton type trade, then
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah, Josue de Paula, go turn into the next Jordan Alvarez. If it gets us a World Series this year and next year, I don't think people would be upset about the Jordan Alvarez trade if the Dodgers had won the World Series the year that they traded for Josh Fields. You know, what do they say? Parades over prospects. Problem is the Dodgers didn't get any parades from that.
No.
It's not that they traded the prospects, that they didn't get the parades. And that's the hard part of all these trade deadlines is there's no way to guarantee. If you could guarantee trading for Yohan Duran will win the World Series for you this year, I believe the Dodgers, there would be no prospect who is untouchable.
Yeah.
And as it should be. And then do it again next year. Okay, next year we have to trade Zaire Hope. This year is Josue de Paula. Next year is Zaire Hope, but it's guaranteeing another World Series title. Absolutely, sign me up for that all day. The problem is there's no guarantees, and 29 out of 30 teams every single year don't win the World Series. And so when we look at these 12 teams that are going to be buyers, at least 11 of them are going to be crying in October and sad that they just sold their farm system and didn't even win a World Series for it. Doesn't mean it's the wrong decision. It means that there are no guarantees, and that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, and you got to give yourself every team, they want to give themselves that opportunity to at least, Dodgers have that. I'm going to go to there again. They have the World Series aspiration. Some teams just really want to make the postseason so they can get their fan base on board, like, the Reds, for example, who I'm calling them a fence riding team. But if the Reds were good, let's go to a stellar. Let's look at the Orioles last year. Like them being good, making the playoffs a couple years in a row, all that kind of stuff. Like you're starting to get butts in the seats at Camden. Now it's a little, it's not as granted. I haven't looked at their numbers, but it's not the same excitement there because they've been bad.
Yeah, they might be a cautionary tale for teams who are thinking about, okay, do we go all in just to get to the postseason to get our fans excited? I'm just looking at the Orioles attendance numbers right now. They started in the that's what I want.
This
Separate
is riveting.
just by
Everybody.
Yeah, I'm
hit
pretty
that
good
like,
at this.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe for Orioles attendance numbers right here.
This is why you're here. I mean, we should have put this in the headline. You want to talk about Orioles attendance? Here we are. Because the fact is, they started. Turns out the Orioles aren't drawing even when they are good. I guess early season in Baltimore it was probably wet. But lately we're looking at the thrilling Orioles-Marlins matchup heading into the All-Star break. Drew 17,759 fans. So
they're still going to be trending down. But that's a
cautionary tale for some of these potential buyers.
And that's a team that has Felix Bautista, who I think of like the big names, I'm probably least excited about him for some reason. Hey, give me the Pirates and Bednar and I'll say O'Neal Cruz because why not? Because that was the one I did and pissed people off a couple weeks ago. Guardians is obviously Cleveland as the team that makes the most sense for this team, this Dodgers front office to be active in trade talks with. The other one, though, if we are talking about that Mason Miller and the Athletics, how about Brent Rooker being a Dodger? I will say it again in case people haven't heard me say this. Anywhere the Dodgers go, it needs to be a blockbuster. I think they need to try to take two pieces a la Washington Nationals 2021. You need two pieces for the prospect haul in return.
Yeah, Mason Miller and Brent Rooker would take a huge haul of prospects because both of those guys have a ton of team control left. And Rooker just signed an extension with the A's.
He signed an extension? I didn't even know that.
Didn't he in this last offseason?
I don't know. Somebody tell us in the comments below. I don't really pay attention to A's.
Why are you trying to make me doubt myself? He is signed through 2029. But it's pretty team friendly. I mean, we're talking $8 million next year, $14 million the year after, 15, 19, $22 million team option in 2030. I mean, that is 5 more years of team control after this year at a very reasonable price. Of course, he's also already older because he's almost 31 now. That's super old, says the guy with the gray in his beard.
Yeah. Give us the pop, give us the 100-mile-an-hour arm. in Mason Miller, and that's I'm feeling pretty good about him, about this Dodgers team, very, very, very quickly. These are the ones, though. I would say these are the teams we really, really need to lose a whole lot over the next week and change. Cardinals. They have Ryan Helsley if they're going out for a reliever. Of course, they have been natural trade partners. They also have Lars Nootbaar is just throwing an outfielder name out there. The Rangers have some pieces. If you're going for a starting pitcher, I said this on Dodgers territory a couple last week, I think. Give me Nate Eovaldi any day of my life. I love that dude, and I wish he was a Dodger for all of his career. The Twins. If the Dodgers can take 2 more games from the Twins, all of a sudden their wild card chances take a significant hit, and maybe they are more interested in just leaving Buxton and Duran in LA, or Buxton and Jax, or all 3. Why not?
Yeah, and I think some of those teams on the fence list are already sellers, or at least should be. Like the Twins, they are currently at this moment 5 games out of a wild card spot, with 5 teams ahead of them, not counting the 3 that are in. They need to leapfrog 6 teams to get into a wild card spot. Even if you didn't think 5 games was daunting, 6 teams, it's just not going to happen. And you look at, the Angels are only a game ahead of them, and they 4 games back, and 4 teams they need to leapfrog. I'd even argue, you have the Cardinals on the fence. You have the Reds and Giants as buyers. Reds, Giants, and Cardinals are all tied right now.
Red Sox.
No, didn't you on the were the Reds on your sellers list?
Reds are on the fence for me right now.
On the fence. Okay. So the Reds and Cardinals are tied with the Giants in the wild card race right now. Mm-hmm. And only a little bit farther out in the division race. The Giants should be sellers.
Yeah.
The Giants I'm reading all these articles, and it's like, oh yeah, the Giants make sense for this player. It's like, why? What are the Giants going to do this year? The Giants aren't going to make the playoffs this year.
But they have Buster Posey. That's it. That's all they need, apparently.
I even saw some third baseman. I don't remember who the third baseman was, but they're like, the Giants are a fit for him. I think it was Eugenio Suarez. It's like, they've got Rafael Devers and Matt Chapman. How many third basemen? It's like the Padres' approach of getting all the shortstops, except you get the position where they're not good at defense.
That sounds like a really, really bad Bleacher Report article, or something that garbage publication Newsweek would steal from Bleacher Report and turn into a column.
Yeah, I think this was Passan. Passan had Giants listed on the Suarez. Yeah,
Jeff Passan drunk?
Apparently.
How many third basemen do you need?
Yeah, I don't understand why the Giants right now are being considered buyers. Maybe it's because they've lost 6 in a row right now. So maybe people just haven't adjusted their expectations.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is, because it was pretty tight. Well, not tight, but they were closer in that. I think they had a wild card spot heading into the trade. The All-Star break, didn't they?
The Giants are going to finish 4th in the NL West, and there's no reason for them to be buying right now. And maybe it's because they've already gone in on Rafael Devers, so they have to keep buying. But maybe what they ought to be doing is thinking about trading Rafael Devers at the trade deadline, and wait till next year. Because Giants aren't going to the playoffs.
No. GI said earlier in the chat, Rooker is nice, but they don't need another poor fielding corner outfielder. Now listen, I didn't want to bring up the defense part of it, because he's a slugger, but he could be like this year's Teoscar, where if he hits enough, we don't worry as much about his really, really bad defense. But this is where, we talked about the Twins who are in town currently. Buxton is a center fielder. If you're going out, and if we've mentioned you need a reliever that is a needle mover, I think you need, as I said much, much earlier in the show, if you need an outfielder, it's got to be a center fielder, because the way the defense is lined up, it's not good. It's not good enough. Maybe it could be good enough if everybody's kind of on their game, but you get a center fielder, you convince Teoscar into moving to left field, where, again, I will have the argument that You can hide him in left field more than you can in right field just because the ball comes at you quicker and it's going to get by you either way. But those ones that are like the floating hangers that kind of just drop down that he seems to struggle with in right field, those could likely be grabbed by Andy Pasillas. Maybe you get a good center fielder, you kind of like shift the outfield a little bit to cover him in left.
My approach would be, if they were to get a great center fielder, my approach would be you bounce Teo and Pasillas between left and right depending on the pitcher, your starting pitcher and the opposing team's lineup. Where do we expect the ball to be hit tonight? That's where we're putting Andy Pasillas. The place where we don't expect the ball to be hit, that's where we're putting Teoscar. But yeah, your point, the overall point is getting a center fielder gives you the opportunity to make that decision about the corner outfielders. Right now, we're stuck with a bad defender who's not hitting in right field and a bad defender who's not hitting in left field. And that's not the ideal outfield defensive situation.
Doesn't really work. Doesn't help. Yeah. It's not good. Dodgers need to do gooder. But I really don't have much else to add to this. I think I'm looking forward to the next 5 days, really, of getting some new and fresh rumors, having more teams lose some baseball games or win some baseball games, so the buyers, sellers, and in-between list kind of can sort itself out, hopefully a little bit more. We have other content coming on the channel this week. I think we got an idea that makes a lot of sense with the Dodgers and the Red Sox trading for an outfielder again and some starting pitching, so we'll see what that looks like. But any final thoughts that you want to touch on, Jeff, before we sign off?
No, like you said, there's so much more to say over the next 214 hours and 23 minutes before the trade deadline. And so this is kind of setting the stage. We've mentioned, I guess, 19 names now since you threw O'Neill Cruz in there.
And
Brett Rooker, 20.
Yeah.
All right, so 20 names we've talked about here. We're going to talk about most of those names some more over the next week and a couple days.
Thank you for not going back to the hours and minutes.
Yeah, I got to mix things up, because the Dodgers have some work to do. And we know they have work to do in the bullpen. Question is, what's that going to take? And that's something. There will be trades starting to happen now that there's at least somewhat of a list of buyers and sellers. People have been upset. Fans have been upset that the Dodgers didn't trade for a reliever 2 months ago. Can't make trades till teams are willing to trade.
Yep.
But now that we are 9 days away, teams are going to start being willing to trade. Somebody is going to say, you know what? Let's get ahead of this. We know there's a lot of teams looking for relievers. Let's do it right now.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll be the Dodgers. Maybe the Dodgers are the first ones to pull the trigger in light of the Tanner Scott injury. We know Alexis Diaz is going to be the short term. Yeah. Speaking of that, have we been scrolling Twitter? We know this time of day is when we sometimes get news. So we may have heard 16 minutes ago, Fabian said Dodgers are still waiting on MRI results.
Well, the latest, Sonia Chen, MLB.com, says that Roberts feels that Scott is, quote, in a better spot than last night, but they're still waiting on MRI results.
Maybe that's just because Tanner Scott had a good birthday cake today, Is
it his? Oh, what a crappy birthday.
It's his birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. Here's Tommy John for you, bud. Thanks for stopping by. As we said earlier this morning, though, I think the absolute best case scenario is Tanner Scott being back in the final week of September, sometime mid-September. Because
even that, with this Tanner Scott feeling better, they have said he's going on the IL, and the hope is that he will return this season. So that's where we're at. That feeling better means we hope he's not done for the year.
Yeah.
There's no chance. This is not a Freddie Freeman miraculous injury or recovery. It's not even a Max Muncy miraculous, healing quicker than expected. This is, maybe we'll get him back before the end of the year. And maybe that's what it takes. He needs the rest. And that, for my prediction of him being a dog for the Dodgers in October to come true, maybe that's what they need. But no news on how bad the injury is. But we'll find that out in the next day or two.
The delay, or the fact that they're still waiting on MRI results, usually that doesn't bode extremely well. But
second opinions, looking at it, yeah.
Regardless, they still need another arm at bare minimum with what we've seen out of this bullpen.
They needed relievers before this injury.
Yeah.
They probably need two at least.
Rest in peace, Lou Trevino and all that. But guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us here on this official trade deadline 14 player target trade primer thing con carne. Like the show, subscribe to the channel, do all that kind of stuff. Thank you for the super chats for the folks that did leave us some super chats. Again, if you're looking for a different way to support the show, check out patreon.com/realfrg or click the join button here on YouTube. Our most popular tier is the $5 a month. It's cheaper than a Dodger dog, some would say, and you also get access to our Discord server where we're talking about the Dodgers, we're talking about injuries and all this kind of stuff, and trade stuff all day long, all year long. What else? We do watch parties. There's a lot of cool stuff, meetups. So do check that out if you don't mind. That guy over there.
No.
You know what's funny is I overcorrected. I was gonna do that. There we go. I got this point to where you're at on I got to point right at you. There he is. That guy is Snider. Give him a follow on the Twitter. I am Real FRG. I gotta stop pointing. I could be a professional. Anyways, guys, thank you for hanging out with us. We will see you on the next one. Bye. Oops.